This is Kirstin from Sweet Life Flora. We're having a controversial discussion about houseplants. And when we want to tap into our turn, we just tap the mister just like that.
We're gonna chime in.
Okay, let's get into it.
So first topic, orchids are beautiful, but they require too much care and attention to bloom.
I completely agree.
I completely disagree.
Oh.
I think if you don't overthink the orchid, I think the orchid thrives. I think if you do the necessary minimal principles of the growth, I think it'll be good.
I think it took me 3 reels to explain how to keep a Phalaenopsis orchid alive. So first repotting it, then making sure that you cut off the flowers once they're gone, and then finally just keeping it alive. So 3. I personally don't keep orchids, but I've heard that if you foliar feed them, that they'll do better.
And I just want to tap in, my grandmother has an orchid. She does not know what the internet is, and her orchid is still thriving. So
But she has you.
I don't touch her plants, and she doesn't touch my plants. So like, you know what I mean?
It's a separate thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of orchids, should I water my orchids with ice cubes? Is that a thing?
Absolutely not.
No.
No.
Ice cubes are for chumps.
Ice cubes are for drinks, not plants.
So the whole ice cube thing came about, everyone says it's a gimmick, but it came about because ice cubes are known volume. So people who aren't good at watering could put these ice cubes on. But the whole concept of an orchid is actually that its roots are normally out and splayed in the environment. So what you need to do is you need to take it out of the pot, repot it into something that's very loose, and then make sure your pot has a hole, and then completely drench it. Like, it's not even about the volume of the ice cubes, because ice cubes are for chumps.
No to ice cubes. We agree on this. No.
Succulents are overrated, and people only keep them for the aesthetic appeal, rather than their actual natural beauty and health benefits.
I think there's. I don't think so. I think there's a lot of variations of succulents, and some people only have succulents, and I think that's an interesting thing.
I think succulents are gateway plants. Succulents actually start your plant obsession. I started with succulents. I love the colors, I love the shapes, and everything like that. And then, because there's such a huge succulent community, but then there's a huge plant community, I was like, oh my god, there's more.
I will say a cactus was my first plant too, and I think they're great because it doesn't require too much effort to keep them alive. I think so. It's a great way to get into plants and learn about plants.
And they're also okay for animals, which is something that all of my followers ask.
So they're not overrated.
I
Not
don't think so.
overrated.
Yeah.
Next one, is the houseplants trend a fad, or is it used?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not a fad. It's been super popular since the 50s, 60s, 70s, and it has not gone away. It's gotten stronger, especially
Absolutely.
with the internet.
Yeah, so I always talk about how I got into plants because of my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, and my mother. My maternal grandmother had this Hoya that covered the wall with its vines because it was so epic. But it was like 40, 50 years old. I don't think this is overrated. Although I must say, being a seller of plants, the pandemic really kicked it off for everyone. Everyone got into plants because, you know, they had nothing else to do, they were at home. But now that the pandemic is over, the market has completely like bottomed out. It's crazy. But people are still buying plants and they're still interested. So it's not a fad.
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I think because of what happened, a lot of people got educated and they got into a new hobby that actually helps their mental and physical well-being.
Absolutely.
So it is definitely not a fad, and it is here to stay.
Absolutely, I 100% agree.
Should you miss your houseplants?
Yes.
Next question.
Depends.
Okay. Facts.
So I truly believe that you need to understand where your plants come from in nature. So there are tons of plants that live in incredibly humid environments. Calatheas, Marantas, even some philodendrons. Those ones definitely need to be misted. But the key with misting is you have to make sure that your environment is warm enough to allow the evaporation of the water from the plant leaves. So I will say sometimes.
I agree. Obviously, we love misting because we have the best mister ever.
And I agree with that.
But I will agree, like if you get a plant, you have to research where it's from. If it's from a tropical rainforest where it's the humidity level is 80% or whatever the case is, you want to miss that plant and give that plant the water and moisture that it wants.
Yeah. Absolutely. So some plants actually absorb water through their leaves, through their foliage. So just know what plant you have and mist accordingly using the Mossify mister.
If I was a plant, I would love this right now. You know what I mean? Oh wow, it's actually beautiful.
Should you make your own moss pole or buy one?
I think it depends. We highly recommend if you have time and effort and the resources to make your own moss pole, absolutely do it. If you want to showcase a beautiful $300, $500, $1,000 plant, get one that is maybe a little bit better than what could be made. I think homemade moss poles are great.
Yeah, so if you want your plant and you want to style your plant to be very upright, household handmade moss poles are amazing. Now, if you want to express your plant's individuality, then the Mossify moss poles that bend are the best way to do that. You can actually follow the growth of your plant and make your plant an individual.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I think it really depends on what you want with your plant. Yeah.
Should you use a bendable moss pole or a traditional straight moss pole?
Depends on how you want to stage it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Especially if you have like, especially if you have like a really, so if you have a plant that's already grown and it has voluptuous curves already, you want to support that and you don't want to bend the plant to a straight pole. So if you already have a plant that's super bendy, you want to use a bendable moss pole to fit those shapes.
I 100% agree. But the cool thing about the Mossify pole is that you can use it straight too. So if you have a staging need or you want your plant to look, upright, you can use that with the Mossify pole as well.
Last topic for you guys is a very controversial one.
Okay, let's do it.
No one cares about your new Monstera leaf.
How do you know someone has a new Monstera leaf?
Because they post it on Instagram every single time.
They tell you!
I think if it's worth,
Monstera
this is a tough
leaves
one.
are beautiful and epic, and everyone has a Monstera. So the more leaves we see, the less it seems cool. Get a new plant, get lots of plants, and post their leaves.
I think if you have a very established, I'm talking 5, even 7 year established Monstera leaf, where you have fenestrations and you have variegations and you have 70 holes in a leaf, post your picture.
Oh yeah, because you don't see those very often.
You don't see, that's beautiful.
I still might tell you if I get a new Monstera leaf.
I probably will too.
Because that's how I am.
Yeah, so.
So we're undecided.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you, Kirstin from Sweet Life Flora, for joining us and making this content together.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, you name it, you can find me. At Sweet Life Flora. I'm ubiquitous.
We'll see you next time. Peace.